is Yaron. I'm the music director for the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. And let's start this morning with a lot of love. No matter how hard I try, you keep pushing me aside, and I can't break through. There's no talking to you. It's so sad that you're leaving. It takes time to believe it. But after all is said and done, you're gonna be the only one. Do you believe in love? I can feel something inside me saying, I really don't think you're strong enough. No, do you believe in love? I can feel something inside me saying, I really don't think you're strong enough. No, what am I supposed to do? Sit around and wait for you? Well, I can't do that. There's no turning back. I need time to move on. I need the love to feel strong. 'Cause I've had time to think it through. And maybe I'm too good for you. You believe in love, the love, the love of the love. I can feel something inside me saying, I really don't think you're strong enough. No, do you believe in love of love? I can feel something inside me saying, I really think you're strong enough. No. Do you believe in love after love? I can feel something inside me saying, I really don't think you're strong enough. No, do you believe in love after love? I can feel something inside me saying, I really don't think you're strong enough. No.
What a beautiful rendition of that song by Cher, Yaron.
Thank you, and no autotune.
No auto tune, right? I know. All live and in tune. I love it. What a great song to kick off our morning with, and what a great question to live in, right? Do you believe in life after love, right?
Yeah,
Or we could flip that and ask yourself, do you believe in love after life?
I believe in both.
I know since we have our conversations with Dr. Sue Rubin coming up later in the service today, she and I can talk about that. I'm sure she will have a wonderful answer for us. You think? Well, thank you, Yaron. Welcome back to the land of Los Angeles, even though we never knew in this format you were gone, but I know that you've been working really hard. Glad to have you back. Let's all acknowledge and honor our music director, Yaron Spiwak. Welcome back, Yaron. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox. I'm the spiritual leader for the Center for Spiritual Living in Los Angeles. I want to thank you all for being here today and want you to know that you are celebrated on this Gay Pride Sunday around the world, the last Sunday of June, which is Pride Month around the world, at least the world that we inhabit, the land of Earth. And I want to welcome you to our Sunday celebration service. I know that there are several of you that are joining us today through Zoom that have customarily joined us through Facebook. And I just like to encourage all of you to keep yourselves muted and your cameras turned off off until I ask you to turn them on at some point, if that's going to be the case, because otherwise we'll get feedback coming through the system. We come together every Sunday morning, and we're so happy to do that today to join in what we call our Sunday celebration service here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. And so I invite you to honor yourself by sitting back, taking a deep breath in, and honoring yourself on this journey. I'm going to put on the screen our graphics for our service, the beginning of our service today, and I invite you to enjoy them as they take off on the screen. As I said before, it's Pride Sunday around the world, and certainly here in the land of Los Angeles, it is Pride. And I invite you to own the pride that you have within yourself as we come together today and from this moment forward, enlightening and living out our vision statement, which is supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. We come together today to have that spiritual awakening in a new way, more than we've ever had before, not judging what we've had in the past and not having any emotional attachment as to what is to come, but just centering ourselves and anchoring into the awareness of who we are as a divine being. We are, as I said before, in the last Sunday of June, and our theme for the month has been June Gloom, Hell No. And so we'll continue on that theme today of living in the light and not letting the darkness basically cover up our light, let it to have any power in the sense of our being. And so through that journey, we allow our inner light to shine. On the screen, you'll see the third eye, that place within us where we tap into our intuition, shining. And we acknowledge that and utilize that through the moment that we open our service through the act of namaste. Especially in this gathering in a technological format, it's important for us to take a moment and to feel and know the connection that we share among each other as the interconnectedness of spirit does its thing through us. And so we do that through the Sanskrit act of namaste. The meaning of namaste is the power within me, the God within me, the life within me, the peace, the power, the beauty, the joy, the life, the love, the wisdom of this power itself in me honors and acknowledges the same within you. And so let's all take a deep breath in together, placing our hands together in prayer position, raising them to our third eye, bringing them back to our heart, bowing forward and say together, Namaste. Thank you. And so pride as a way of life. As we use the act of namaste, the honoring of life itself within each other, it gives us the opportunity to feel prideful in life, not just a way to celebrate the rainbow flag and the uniqueness of each individual, but in addition to that, that core within all of us that is the same, life itself. And so we honor that here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. We are a community that has come together well over 30 years now on the west side of Los Angeles that has practiced primarily the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes. Dr. Ernest Holmes was a New Thought metaphysician. I started to say magician, but in many ways we do see this teaching and philosophy as magic, even though it's not. It's actually quite explainable, meaning that we practice the belief, the philosophy, the faith, the way of life, that there's only one power that exists in the universe. You and I experience and express and reflect that power through our thoughts, our actions, our reactions, and our interactions in and as life itself. We do that by tending to our mind and how we show up. And because we live in a universe that is governed by spiritual law, as we pay attention to and tend to this evolution of mind, this aligning our thoughts to reflect those qualities of peace and power and beauty and joy and light and life and love and wisdom that I spoke of earlier, then we move into a higher framework, a higher vibration, a higher frequency of mind itself. And this impersonal law of life then reflects back to us in experience or form the very state of mind that we're focused on. And so because we have the opportunity to do that as contemplative beings of choice, then we have an opportunity to make a difference on this journey of life, which then gives us the opportunity to become more personally self-empowered as we awakened to our spiritual nature more and more and more and more on a daily basis. And so today, as we open our service, our wonderful service today of coming together in this format of technology, we'll continue to do that through the ritual of called calling in the light. And so we do that by centering and anchoring ourselves into the awareness of the light that exists within us. And so as we begin to focus on the flickering flame in the orb of light on the screen, I invite you to hear these words and the energy behind them anew today. As we open up after our service today to have a conversation about where do we go from here, let's remember to let light be the guiding force for what is to come. The ritual calling in the light. Today we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. The purpose of this ritual is to draw into this gathering this morning a more conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities that we possess as complete expressions of the divine. And so as we feel the vibrations shift during this experience, may we become ever more aware of the light of life that exists in and as all expressions of life, which includes you, and it includes me. Knowing that this ritual has been performed not only countless times here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, but in the various different centers for spiritual livings around the world, let's take a moment and feel the energy of each one that's been done, letting that be the foundation of consciousness and awareness as we continue to align ourselves to the highest truth of all, which is there's only life. There's only the divine, expressing itself as you and as me. And so for that, let's accept the ability to be grateful for our ability to express this power in life through gratitude. Our affirmation for the morning is this: gratitude has a way of changing your perspective and leaves you open to receiving the blessings that are within each day. Through that power of our mind, we have the ability to accept, to receive, and to believe that this affirmation is true for each one of us. So I invite us all to take a deep breath in and open ourselves to the blessings that exist within the day. To further anchor in the awareness of light itself, we shall sing together in the privacy of our own environment the song Calling in the Light. Yaron will take us through that song as he comes on the screen. The lyrics for this call and response song are indeed on the screen. Yaron?
Calling in the light, calling in the light, calling in the light.
And so it is. And so we affirm together that we have received our more expanded awareness of light than ever before, realizing and remembering that the awareness of it does not create it, for it always existed as it always will. And so we remember this acronym for light, living in God's healing truth. This power that is within us that is always waiting for us to call upon it, to engage in it in a new way, and ultimately creating a shift, not only in our consciousness, but ultimately in our experience. And so today we have a new experience as a result of being awakened in a new way and receptive to what is possible in life itself. And so we anchor ourselves in the moment, ready to receive the blessings that are being shared collectively during this time together, and then letting those move out into the universe, creating a ripple effect of good. That's the way life works, and we let it be as we say together, amen. And so it is. Thank you to Yaron, and thank you to each one of you. A big thank you to all of you here on Zoom and those of you that are joining us on Facebook and that will be joining us at a later date on our YouTube channel. We have a beautiful service planned for you today. To move to the next dimension of this service, I'm going to invite our guest musician in today, a familiar face and energy to the family of Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, Todd Alsup, which is joining us today from Provincetown, Massachusetts, where you say it's been crazy and wild and gay pride in a whole new way, as each and every day in Provincetown is. Correct, Todd?
Yes, indeed. It's quite
Good.
busy
Well,
here.
thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule there as you perform at the Crown and Anchor, a beloved location that I love so very much, to be with us today. And I know that you're singing a song for us today that so many of us love, called I'm Coming Out. Right? And so today I invite all of us to hear that anew and choose to come out of the closet of being a spiritually awakened person and live our life anew and renewed today. Let's everyone enjoy Todd giving us this version. Todd, take it away.
Hey. I'm coming out, coming out. Yeah. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. There's a new me coming out, and I just have to live. And I wanna give. I'm completely positive. I think this time around I am gonna do it like you never knew it. Ooh, I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of my shell. I have to shout that I am coming out. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. I'm coming out. Yeah, I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. I've got to show the world all that I want to be. All my abilities. There's so much more to me. Somehow I've got to make them just understand. I've got it well in hand. I know how I play. I'm ready to love, and there is no need to fear. And I just feel so good every time I hear. Hey. I'm coming out.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
Love that song. What a fantastic version of it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming out and singing it to us today. It brings back memories of my dancing under multiple mirror balls in a club called Backstreet in Atlanta, hearing it for the
There
first
you
time.
go.
What powerful lyrics. Thank you, Todd.
My
A
pleasure. Happy
huge
Pride,
thank.
everybody. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you after our conversations with Dr. Sue. And so, in that note, I'm so happy to have as our guest today for my continuation of the conversations with Dr. Keith, one of our integral pieces of the CSL-LA family for many, many years, Dr. Sue Rubin. There she is with us. Good morning, Dr.
Good
Sue.
morning. Hello, hello, everybody. Hello, dear Keith.
Oh, so wonderful to have you here. And for those of you that may not be familiar with this beloved light of life, Dr. Sue is a anchor in the community, the metaphysical community that was known as the Church of Religious Science for many years, and through its various incarnations, and now known as the Centers for Spiritual Living around the world, and has been a minister in the western part of the USA and in Canada, and is just um, a real powerhouse of life and thought and metaphysics, and certainly is considered the guard of the old school of it's about the law of life, while at the same time lives in this state of evolution that is not only commendable and admirable and respectable, but very, 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 very inviting. So, Dr. Sue,
Wow, I'm impressed. Bring her on.
I learned it from the best, my dear you. So share with us what's on your mind just in this very moment.
Miami, isn't that odd? I just have the
Yeah.
image of Miami and the prayers that I know we all offer along with everyone else. But Miami would come to mind because my dad, in his second marriage, lived down there.
Uh-huh.
And when my youngest child was very young, we would go to visit, and it was not far away from Surfside, right on the ocean front. And so that would be that natural association of thoughts and memories.
So, Dr. Sue, as I referenced in your introduction about being part of the old guard, if you will, what I would love to hear you speak of right away, since you used the word prayer, and yesterday I watched that concert from the Center for Spiritual Living, and the word prayer was used a lot. And when I was steeped in this teaching, that's a word we never used. We only used the term spiritual mind treatment. So, could you enlighten our viewers, both those that are familiar with our teaching and those that are new to our teaching? What type of prayer do we do in this philosophy, faith, and way of life known as the science of mind?
I think in the textbook, Holmes has a very little section on is prayer, do we do prayer in religious science? And he said, if the prayer that we're giving is from an external reaching for a God outside of ourselves, that would not be the quote unquote prayer that we would prefer doing. If, however, that prayer acknowledges the presence of the infinite within. And so the kind of prayer to me is, I want to continue to break down the barriers that exist within my own mentality and my own sense awareness, of just judging so quickly and coming to conclusions that why do I still think that? So for me, any conscious connection that we make very deliberately and acknowledging, as we do in spiritual mind treatment, it's the first two steps. It's recognition there is one universal essence, intelligence, love, and I am its embodiment. I am the way you get to see it in living form. And so for me, my sentence is God is I am.
Uh-huh.
Because that for me takes the recognition of something. I don't need to describe it because it's everything that is. Let me leave it at that. And my unification are really encapsulated. And for me, it's a catalyst. If I feel my edginess or I'm slipping off into some place I prefer not to be, I I'm God as I am. To me, that's my anchor. And so anything that consciously connects you to the presence and power of that greater something, which is living through us. That to me is affirmative prayer. In
I
the
love
book, he calls it scientific prayers.
I love it. You use the term anchor, and as you brought yourself into center, it reminded me of a class that I just taught, and I learned this from someone else, that we are oftentimes taught in the evolution of mind that our goal is to center ourselves, to anchor ourselves, to be balanced. And the way it was taught to me was that on our journey of life itself, our objective is to chart our course as if we were in a boat on a river or a lake. And then the remaining time until we get to that objective is to continually bring ourselves back on course. So the goal is to stay as close to course as possible. And when we find ourselves off course, then bring ourselves back. Well, how do we do that? Well, you are the queen of that. I've seen it over the years and in environments where people would let their humanness get out of control, and you would stand up and say, let's do spiritual mind treatment now. And then you would do it. And what I always loved about that, and I loved about it in the way that you do it and still to this day do it, is you then speak the truth, your truth, with such conviction that there seems to be no semblance or possibility that you think that the power that you're speaking both to and as could fail you. And I just love that.
Thank you, Keith. And it's funny because I always reflect that in the textbook, when Holmes is talking about just letting ourselves in the fullness of who we are come out, and in the places that he's quirky in some of his writings, it's like, so who cares, if someone considers that arrogant? But it's really to convince myself, ourselves, that which we are repetitively emerging to live more fully as is already within us. But who knew?
Yeah. And so, it's interesting that you just talked about him in the textbook. I was a guest on this new platform last week called Clubhouse, which is an audio format for conversations. And there'll be another one Tuesday I'll send out to everyone through. And the person that invited me in is a medium, primarily works with animals, but also with humans. And I knew her years ago before she had this awakened within her. And she was a student of mine at the Los Angeles Church of Religious Science, one of the first classes I ever taught. And she was talking to me about, I prompted her to want to read the book, The Science of Mind. And to this day, she still longs and lives on Ernest Holmes' quotes, but she said, but I just can't read that book. And I said to her, the book wasn't written like as a Jackie Collins fiction novel. So if you want to sit down and read it that way, it's not written that way. It's not easy reading. I said, so just take what you can from it and then move on. And then when you need to, come back and read it again. So I love that you speak of the book in that way.
Well, it's always that, I'm doing, when I was teaching consistently, all right, we're doing we used to just first year science of mind, second. And people would say, well, no, I did science of mind 1. Oh, that's it. That means you'll never open it again with new eyes, So it's always like, what are we doing that's any different other than seeing it through a greater clarity of our own vision and awareness? So for me, it really is the anchor, and it doesn't have to be elaborate, which, as the world knows, I can go on and on. That's what ministers do, is my defense. But at any time, it's just, if everything in this universe, according to science, is vibration, then if I'm caught up in everything that's happening external to myself, that I can only see and feel with my 5 senses, my fluctuations will be ragged. It'll be that kind of energy. So if somehow in myself and projecting it and I'm taking it in at the same time, I can alter the tendency of my thoughts so that I'm not thinking devastatingly, consistently about Miami or the recent shootings or all of the completely inconceivable things that are going on in our world today, locally as well as globally. If I can take a thought and say, I'm not disallowing, for this is the world I'm living in, I'm part of it, I've helped create it. But if I can take that energy to a calmer, just exchange of thought for truth, then I can say, God is, I am.
Right.
And that was like an Italian thread or something.
But you know, I completely agree with you, and that's why I think one of the things I love about this teaching and have, and I do in within every opportunity I have in teaching it, is that how do we take it, because it can be quite esoteric. How can we take it and then practically apply it to life? And one of the things that I like of what you're saying is that it's A, let's look at it through thought, because that's what it is. B, if we look at it through vibration, if the vibrations are ragged, then we're attracting raggedy experiences in our life, right? So what thoughts can I then think? Well, if I'm looking at it through the lens, applying it through the lens of God is, I am, then if you look at those qualities of God, what are the qualities of God in our teaching? They're peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom. Then the I am part is, then am I thinking thoughts in alignment with those qualities? And if I can hang on to those and know that those are my reality, then the raggediness stops, right? And then just hold it to let the law bring that back into form for us. So our experience then is less raggedy. They're peaceful, powerful, right? Fill in the blanks of the rest of them. And then I can look at that through the lens of, wow, in this very myopic moment, this very short span of time, look at how I participated in creating a shift in my world. Well, and I have the knowledge that I have the capacity to do that, then why wouldn't I do that every opportunity I have? And that's how you then build consciousness.
And that's what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
developing it, that concept of the fantasy of walking into a center or a spiritual community and feeling, oh, I'm home. This is it. My problems are solved. The inner work must be done. There's no
Right.
question about it. And I think the greatest challenge is not in the number one step of recognizing the essence and nature and spirit of something that lives. And for me, the greatest challenge is the unity, the oneness, to really get it, that what's feeling the sadness about the things that are happening in our world, in our country, is I couldn't feel that if at some deep level I wasn't there, an integral part of it, not only in its effect, but in its cause. And and that's where oneness gets diffused, it doesn't become a beautiful thing. Because if I'm one, then part of me is in everything that's happening at cause level and as an effect.
Sue, that
Yeah.
is so brilliant. In my 800 years in this teaching, I've never heard it explained like that. I love it.
Thank
You're,
you.
I mean, so let's recap that. You're saying that it's at that level of oneness, once again, moving beyond the esoteric to the connectedness that, so I'm able to feel that because of the connection, right? I'm able to know that I know whatever it's, whether it's sadness or joy, because it is a shared experience, but it's shared beyond the cerebral. It's shared at the cosmic level, really, right?
At that causative level, at that primal level, I'm escaping from that collapsing building because a part of me is collapsing. And sometimes we don't want that because it's the relinquishing of the old, really demonstrating of pain and sorrow, that we're so familiar with. But there's so much to it, and I just read in Science of Mind, whether it's this month or last month, that the idea that the universe in its oneness has to become the effect to that which it caused,
Yeah.
in through and as cosmic life and as us.
Well, because that's an integral piece of the creative process.
Yeah.
The creative process isn't just being creative. It only matters that it's creative because so that we experience it. It's through the experience of the creation that we then can determine where we are at in the process relative to the evolution of our consciousness.
Right. So for me, if I keep thinking oneness in every regard, my breaking down the barriers of separation, because we are so prone to go good, bad, right, not right,
Uh-huh.
pretty ugly. And so out of that, it's my opportunity to start putting together my own unity of thoughts and feelings. There again, if I can't be one with God, then I can't be one with that resonance of what I think and being supported by it.
I love to bring quotes to stimulate us. Not that we need the quotes to stimulate it, but I have a whole stack here that I'm just going to grab. But as you said that, it reminded me of this quote that I have for us. I don't know if we can see it on the screen.
Mhm.
Um, but it shows the quote is, "We are here to awaken from our illusion of separation," by Thich Nhat Hanh. And the visual is so wonderful because it shows the tree that is growing out of the cut tree. So out of the stump, the tree grew. But if you really look, it didn't grow from there. It grew from all of the roots that are deeply embedded in the soil. And one of the things I learned in the classes I just taught was that we have to remember that um, tree came from a seed, right? And at some point, that seed was planted, whether it was intentionally or not, into the soil.
Mhm.
And as we plant seeds through our thoughts in the soil, it takes on average 10 days for the seed to germinate. So even when we think these thoughts of oneness, sometimes our experience is not going to be immediate. Our role is to stay in that process of knowing it, as the seed then becomes to germinate, to move up into its expression.
And also that reflection and remembrance that everything is contrast. You really can't have the oneness unless you do have the contrast, but we tend to go polarized with it. Rather
Well, and the contrast is what gives us the opportunity to understand the balance, right? The
exactly.
light, the darkness. So, speaking of that, and then the process of life itself, as I've stated before, our um, vision statement is supporting individuals on their finding personal self empowerment through their journey of spiritual awakening, right? So, it's a journey. So, this quote speaks to me, and I'm going to read it and then let you share what it means to you, either personally or spiritually or all of that. Grapes must be crushed to make wine. Diamonds form under pressure. Olives are pressed to release oil. Seeds grow in darkness. Whenever you feel crushed, under pressure, pressed, or in darkness, you're in a powerful place of transformation and transmutation. Trust the process.
Go within, oh, wandering one out there, said she to herself. Oh, there's got to be a fix. There's got to be a drink, a pill, or something. Call, sex, whatever it is. That instinctive outreach. That I don't care how many years I've studied, or any of us have studied. That fight or flight. That
Right.
old reptilian reaction, and yet that can be acknowledged. Every Eastern teaching, particularly, will say, observe the clouds. Yeah, note that there it is and there it goes. But we glom on, then form our own images and fantasies out of that cloud. So the simplicity of, again, garnering that energy, that's conglomerate of like raggedness, and right where I am, there is a calming presence. Make it relevant. I don't think sometimes we make our treatments pragmatically relevant to what is going on and why I'm doing it or saying what I'm saying right now.
I really try to shake up spiritual practice in my life, because I'm not one to sit down every morning at 6 a.m. and do spiritual mind treatment or meditation. It's just not my nature, right? But I do spiritual practice throughout the day. And the last few nights, I've been doing it looking at the moon and just watching the moon as it moves across the scape, even though we're the ones really moving, and it's in its brilliance of this full moon. And last night, within the same block of time frame, when I was taking my dog for a walk and just experiencing the night, and I couldn't find the moon. It was this moment of loss, right? I was like, oh my God, where is it? And I started trying to figure out, like,
Mhm.
why is it not here? Damn it, right? And then I thought, wait, Keith, every single night of the life that you've walked this planet, it's shown up. Why
Yes,
would it not tonight?
right,
Trust the process.
exactly.
And an hour or so later, I went into my bathroom and looked out the window, and there it was in all its brilliance. And what a great lesson to remember that that's the thing for all of us, that light, which is a reflection of source itself, the moon, right? It's always there for us.
It's like when you lose something, and we all know there's nothing lost in mind, but rather than scattering our energies, that moment when you're still, and if it's not imminent in that second, how I always have to smile when the next day or the next moment, it's like, I had to get calm. One cannot access to full measure that infinite intelligence and love when we're scattered and out of sorts and out of relationship with the divine.
Well, the word that I'm going to take from you so far today is raggedy. When I'm having raggedy thinking, right? It speaks so to my southern roots, raggedy thinking. But when you were just, I love the statement that you just made in regards to when something seems lost, then just trusting it, right? Because I've gotten so clear on that in my life. I know it's going to show up when it needs to show up. It's not really lost, whether it's my passport or a coupon for a free steak at Bristol Farms or my keys or whatever it is, right? It's there, right? And in kind of 20th school metaphysics, the statement would be, well, it's in its perfect and right place and it'll show up. Well, I get that too, and that's a little esoteric for me, but it's more like, how about it'll show up for me when I need it. That's what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And so I need to trust that process, that I don't need to have raggedy thinking or raggedy energy and try to make that happen. That takes us to the quote that's from my text today. I send out a new thought for the day text every morning. Um,
Okay.
and the one for today, the one for today was this. If you look at what you have in life, you will always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough. Oprah Winfrey. And then I added, even though I often forget it, I learned the truth of this quote years ago. As we stated earlier, life is all about energy. So that which we focus on multiplies. Choose wisely.
Nice, nice. There you have it. I see it now. The booklet of Divine Dailies.
Yes. Well, working on those. We're looking to have an illustrator to illustrate something to go with each one.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
So I have a quote for immersion in our spiritual practices that can simulate self-inquiry. Can I offer that?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know who said it. Who are you willing to be when you're finished being who you think you are?
Say it again for us, please.
Who are you willing to be when you're finished being who you think you are?
Wow.
So I still think I'm the one who has to be perfect, even though my performance stage isn't the consistency that it was, but I'm still stuck with that imperative to still make sure I'm on top of it. If I am still identifying myself in the role of whatever it is, be it a minister, a doctor, a wife, whatever, if I'm still stuck in that, then I don't, to begin with, have the willingness to even contemplate the statements I make in the absolute when I'm treating the magnificence and light and love and power of God. That doesn't register because my role and my identity is still too forged
Uh-huh.
in supporting and sustaining and maintaining who I thought I was. So it's one of those poke around, because at first, well, here's who I'm willing to be. But I think the key element is the willingness in everything we do. Am I really willing to see a change in my life by acknowledging some of my own, whether I call it shadow work or ego or cleaning up my inner act? So
That's
it's
so true. It's not only am I willing to be something different, but am I willing to see it different? You
mm,
know, that's a real critical piece of that. This reminds me of the quote, a quote from Deepak Chopra, which is inherent within the seed of intention is the fulfillment of its desire.
mm,
Right? So if we are willing to say yes to being willing,
Hmm.
right, then our role is to set the intention for it.
Yes.
And then to remember that that's all we have to do, set the intention. Because much like the seed that we just looked at that created the tree through the roots and then the stump and then which have been cut and then the tree, that inherent within that already is it's the fulfillment of its desire. In other words, that intelligence is what we talk about of it in this teaching, right? And as we become more awakened, then also we have the wisdom within us to trust it.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the key is, am I willing to trust it? Am I willing to have the intention? And am I willing to be willing to let it all unfold through me?
Yeah. So here we sit, seemingly this unified field of oneness, this universal cosmic being specialized as us, with all the potency and power available at our mind tips and our fingertips. And yet there is that part of us which has still attained such a level of power, that humanness that we grasp, to let a piece of it go that we know isn't contributing to what I know the bigger picture of me is. And that everything you said about you got to be willing to be willing. And then do I trust enough to be willing? There's so much wrapped up. And yet the simplicity of truth is in the twinkling of an eye.
Right.
You still evaporate when my head and my heart are so resonant with each other that there's no conflict. It's there.
Yeah, and one of the things I've learned on my journey is, and I speak of this often through the beloved Dr. Maureen Hoyt, of living in the world of and not or. So it can, the manifestation can indeed happen in the twinkling of an eye, right? And we can still struggle in the willingness, and we can know and know that we know that inherent within the seed is the fulfillment of desire. Like all of those things can exist simultaneously,
Right.
right? So it's not one or the other.
Right. Yeah. And I'm probably like giving poetic license, but Holmes said something about a manifestation or a demonstration in our teaching is simply when you objectify, and that's going to take as much time and as much space as until you get it, until you have accepted that for yourself.
Well, and the aha that I just had as you said that, which I know, and I know that I know this, is that the truth is that it's not happening in time or space, though.
Hmm.
It's only time or space when we assign that to it,
Right.
right?
Right.
So even if we were to look at, when we move into this town hall meeting after the service today about what does it look like for us as a community going forward,
Yes.
right? To not get attached, as I know many have been, to the time and space of when it looks like we want it to look, right?
Mhm. Right.
You have any words of wisdom on that?
The first thing that connected was, and the way we want it to look is still very deeply steeped in the way it used to look
Right?
before all this happened. It's that, that those words that I still cringe at these days, return to normal, rather than giving into the idea, being willing to let go of the idea that manifesting, yeah, it may look the same. People are out in the bars and the restaurants, but nothing is the same. There's been a shift, and it's like, now where are you taking this shift? The seismic metaphysical thing that's moved you from where things used to be your normal, and now here's your new normal, and
Yeah.
you're still reeling in. But I want this and I want that.
Right. And maybe we're not supposed to be normal anyway, right?
Exactly.
So,
What's
so
normal?
I was sharing this yesterday with someone on the phone and someone at the park yesterday, where I was walking down the street yesterday, of course, with my beloved four-legged spiritual offspring, Sweeney, headed towards Starbucks. That was our destination. And it's Gay Pride weekend here in West Hollywood. And so there was a new expression of individuals on the street that I don't normally see, right? And this young man starts walking towards me, and I could tell that he had a beeline for me, right? And so he's coming towards me, and I was a bit excited for my venti iced green tea with no sweetener added. And I was like, okay, where is this going to go? And he comes up to me, and I've learned to trust this process. And he says, "Sir," and I said, "Yes." And he said, "First off, I want to go on record telling you that I'm not really weird or strange." And I looked at him, smiled. I'm like, "Well, I'll wait to make that decision." And he chuckled a little bit. And he said, "I'd like to say something and ask you something. I said, okay. And he goes, and he like hesitated and he said, you know, I'm just not really feeling good about re-entering life and into like what it used to be. And like this getting back to normal thing, it doesn't feel right that we just dive right back in. It just doesn't feel good for me. Is that okay to feel that way? Like, and had never met this guy in human form before. And I looked at him and said, hey, that is absolutely okay. Like, feel whatever you need to feel and take care of yourself. And that doesn't make you weird or abnormal. It's just honor your feelings, dude. And he was like, thank you. And with that, we bid adieu and off we went. And I thought, how wonderful that he felt comfortable enough to need to express that and trust doing that. And that I trusted enough to be open to it. Right.
And there's
So,
that oneness, where it's like that game, you put the coin in and the hook and the toys that you can
right.
grab, and that's like life. It's like here we have everything you could possibly desire, and you're still glomming onto and
Right.
hesitant about simply having an opinion, having a
Yeah.
thought, having your
Yeah.
own feeling about anything.
Yeah. So wonderful.
That's why, like little kids, we soak it up when someone says, remember, you are magnificent. You are the light of the world. Everything is going on in tandem with you and in harmony with you. Give it the best you got.
Well, Sue, I love that, Dr. Sue, I love that you have so embraced, not you have, you do so embrace life as it shows up for you. Primarily just through every element, but I just love that you so energetically have embraced this technology of Zoom, and I just love that you are such an example to all of us, obviously, because chronologically, where you are in your life, but you say yes to life, right? Without getting it doesn't, and I'm not trying to speak for you, but I know that there may be moments of you're like, why that? Like what? Like why? But yet you still show up and say yes, right? And there's a vibrancy to you when you do that. Any words of advice or wisdom to any of us regarding that?
I must say, I've been asked in so many ways, what do you do? And I'll say straight out, I've got a faith tradition. And to me, that's the rock from which I'll take a healthy lifestyle, obviously, treating my mind and my body through diet, through exercise, through all of that. But nothing is forced. Everything comes because this is the inner divine guidance that I come to trust more and more each day. And that gives me today's agenda. We always
Uh-huh.
did that. It's like you don't get the manual for tomorrow except the one you work with in your own head and
Right.
formulate out of your own greatest idea implanted by God. It's just the spiritual life is a very joyful experience,
Isn't it?
no
And
matter what.
right, joyful experience and also fun.
Yes.
I've said before when I said yes to this role in this community, I made a commitment to myself that every day, to the best of my ability, this is going to be a spiritual experiment.
Mhm.
Ask myself throughout this entire journey, what do I believe? If what I'm, do I believe when I'm teaching? Am I willing to put that like all? That's what it's all about. Not that it's ever always easy, but boy, it helps color it in a way that is stimulating and fun and um,
So some of you may have seen it on Facebook, but one morning, now probably close to 2 weeks ago, I step out onto my balcony, which faces the hillside, and on one of my patio chairs, there's a tiny little bird egg, just like dropped from this one's
uh-huh.
for you. And that has, I won't let it go. I just sit and nothing's happening. And they said, like 22 days, hold a memorial service. But to me, it is so symbolic of you're waiting for the bird to crack out of the egg, crack out of your own shell, And so that egg is like, today the day we crack open the shell? Because as much as we do, we poke,
Yeah,
and then of course, if you do that before the moment is ripe, like the wine, the grape,
right.
you're you're gone from that manifestation. But anyway, so I offer that to everyone. Let's crack open our eggs. I feel the sadness I feel sometimes about what goes on in the world. I now know is because my own sense of helplessness. What am I doing to help
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
make it better? You know, and I think if that question were not only answered by me, but posed and answered by others collectively, that's where oneness comes in, where it's not the physical differences, it's like a greater idea that's now unifying all of us to be better and do better.
Well, and also, I think that's unfortunately, we are programmed to believe in the Western world that the only way that we can help is through some grandiose symbolic or actual act, right? Some gesture of, planting, putting the stake in the ground and changing the world without realizing that it's the way that we show up in life. So not to make myself an example per se, but the example of that gentleman yesterday. It's like being open to say yes. Right?
Yes,
Be open to saying yes in that moment and see where it can go. Doesn't mean that there weren't other times in my week or day that I was a less than loving person to somebody that I encountered. But in that moment, right, I said yes. And so that's that ripple effect that we teach, right?
yes,
So we all have the opportunity to do that. That is cracking the egg open.
yes, exactly. And who among us, doesn't have that still residue left over that's still holding on to the reins? And that's why really personally and collectively, that's why we are seeing such dramatic, earth shattering changes, whether it's in the environment. My God, look at the sweltering in Seattle.
Yeah,
So it's like crazy.
I
And
know. I was listening yesterday to a talk about that. Yes, go ahead.
no, and the importance of valuing consciousness. So even in answer to my own helpless, like, well, what can I do? Contribute through the consciousness of knowing the answer is there and the harmony is there, and doing that in the circle you navigate in. Duh.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
so true. Well, Dr. Sue, thank you so very much for being here today. I know that you are in great demand. There were other places that wanted you today, and I honor you for honoring having said yes to me and here. And just know that on behalf of Centers for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, we love you, we adore you. We can't wait for that time when we can hug you in person again. You know that personally, my love for you is just infinite and endless. And thank you for being here.
So, at the risk of being repetitive, Keith, I go back to the enjoyment of you were moderating a panel at a film. I mean, just that spark, that time with whether we're breaking bread, time we had lunch. I have such respect and honor. Told you yesterday for
Yeah.
who you are, and and you never look better in your whole
Thank you.
life. I
Thank you.
add that in the
Thank you.
validation outwardly. So I think the highest and the most of you, my love for your center and for David, and it's all wrapped up in oneness. And I'm honored to be with you anytime, any place, anywhere. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
God
So
bless
please stay on. I'd love for you to close us out with a treatment at the end of our service. And then if you want to stay on for any of the town hall, you're welcome to do that as well. So thank you, thank you. So now is the time, everyone. Let's all give Dr. Sue a big round of applause in the virtual world. Let's all put our hands together and namaste this beloved being of light for us and know that we love you. And with that, we're going to bring back to the screen our beloved guest musician, Todd Alsup, who's going to sing a song that speaks to what we've just been talking about is Love Takes Over. So Todd, take us away.
It's complicated, it always is. It's just the way it goes. Feels like I've waited so long for this. I wonder if it shows. Head underwater, now I can't breathe. Never felt so good. Cause I can feel it coming over me. Wouldn't stop it if I could. When love takes over, yeah. You know you can't deny. When love takes over, yeah. Cause something's here tonight. Delirium too. Now can't you see me here on overload? This time I blame you. Looking out for you to hold my hand. It feels like I could fall. Now love me right like I know you can. We could lose it all when love takes over. Yeah, you know you can't deny when love takes over. Yeah, 'cause something's here tonight, 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 tonight. And I've been loving you all the time. It's true. 'Cause I just wanna make it right with you. When love takes over, when love takes over, when love takes over, when love takes over, 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 when love takes over. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When love takes over. Yeah, no, you can't deny. When love takes over. Yeah, 'cause something's here tonight. Love takes over. Over, 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 yeah. Over, 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 over.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Just fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. Who does that song originally, Todd?
Kelly Rowland of Destiny's Child.
Wow. So fantastic. Well, thank you. Thank you. What a fantastic version. And thank you for being here with us today and bringing your light and your talent and your energy and your oneness of life to us. Just, I can't let you know how much we appreciate you more, and continue to shine your light and have a fantastic time in Provincetown this summer.
Thank you.
And
It's always a treat to be here. Thank you very much.
it's always a treat for you to be here. Much love. Thank you, Todd. And so as we continue on in our service today, now is the time for us to come together and support our community financially. Prior to doing that, I'm just going to let you all know, a reminder, we are having a town hall meeting after the service today so that we can have a conversation about a check-in of where we are and what our potential is for the future and opportunity. For those of you that are on Facebook, if you would like to join us for that, you can reach out in the comments and get the link from Robert, who's monitoring our Facebook site. We will disconnect from Facebook for that town hall meeting. As I put on the screen the opportunities to consciously support our community, I invite you to know that all financial contributions are not only welcomed, but celebrated and honored and acknowledged. And we as a tithing community put them to good use, and it allows us to continue to do the good work that we do in the world. On the screen, you'll see those options are by going to our website, which is csl-la.org, and click on donate. I've heard from a couple of you that you've had some challenges with that. I would encourage you to refresh your browser if that's the case, or maybe use a different browser for that. Because others have also not had challenges with that, as I had when I tested it yesterday. So know that. You can also go to our app in the App Store, Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, and click on the upper left bars, and the screen will come up and you can see the donate tab, and you can donate through there. Or you can mail a check to us. Our physical address is 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood, California, 90038. or my phone number is on the screen. And you can use that number to call me directly, and I'll be happy to support you in that process however I can. That information is all also on our website, as well as through our app in the App Store. And our website, once again, is csl-la.org. Right now, Yaron's going to take us on this, come onto the screen and take us through our conscious giving song of Love is My Decision. Love continues to be the theme always for us. Please sing along as you take time to support us financially. Thank you.
Love is my decision. Up to me to give up my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, source will show me how. Love is my decision, yeah, my decision right here, right now.
Thank you, Yaron. And so let's all know that good is being made manifest in the world right now as we consciously step into the abundant nature of life, staying in this ever-present flow of good that is present within us. And so we give, remembering that our nature is to reflect the nature of nature. We let it be, as we say together, and so it is. Thank you. So you'll see on the screen that my weekly morning meditation, Wednesday morning meditation, continues 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time each Wednesday morning. It's a wonderful way to connect and to hear a guided meditation and to let it something new within you be sparked, and a reminder to know who you are as a divine being, and to remember that in a way so that as we navigate life itself, we can do that from a fresh perspective. And so I also want to remind you that, sorry, my screen just got done. That my daily new thought for the day goes out each day through text. It goes out every morning at 7:30. It's a maximum of 320 characters, so it's really simple and easy, and hope that you're enjoying those. And if you would like to receive them and you haven't, you can sign up through our website. You can also sign up for our weekly e-newsletter that goes out every week at the first part of the week. Also, CSL-LA.org is the resource for that. You can also find the name of any practitioners that we have there as well. I want to announce, as we'll talk about more in our town hall later, we have talked about CSL-LA Gathering Picnic, which has been scheduled for July 18th from 12:30 to 4 p.m. at the Roxbury Park. There we have reserved the pavilion there to do that. It will not be like past picnics in that we're not providing drinks and all the setup stuff. We're just going to invite everybody to come and to bring your own food and drink if you would like that. And know that that's the case. There is a maximum of 25 people that can be there at a time. That's the guidelines through the city of Beverly Hills. So we will have a sign up, that sheet or sign up opportunity that will go up for that. And if you want to sign up for a block of time, if we need to block it out as to who's going to be there to maximize the 25 and then a second round, or however we want to do that, we can do that as well. But just watch for that information that will come out over the next couple of weeks. But please put that in your calendar if you would like to be able to come together and to be with each other. And we will go from there. Any questions, we can talk about that on our town hall. A huge thank you to everyone who participated this morning. A big thank you to our guest musician, Todd Alsup, who's here with us from Provincetown. A big thank you to Yaron Spiwak, to Robert Hensley, our social media guru, guide, and administrative assistant, as well as to Travis Smith, our audio technician. And a huge thank you to the one and only Dr. Sue Rubin for bringing her guidance and her wisdom to us today. Big thank you to all of you that showed up today. We have a large crowd, larger than normal today, and it's a real pleasure to have you join us and be a conscious participant in this community known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. With that, I'm going to bring Dr. Sue back on the screen and have her take us out to a meditation or spiritual mind treatment. And then after that, we will say au revoir to those who have joined us through Facebook. And then we will begin our town hall meeting. Dr. Sue, I'm going to invite you to come back. There you go.
I'm here. Okay, and here we go. So I'm offering this affirmative prayer, this spiritual mind treatment, which simply is to treat my mind humanly to the spiritual truth of its being. And I speak it in the I am, which makes it the personal words, the divine truth about each and every one. And so I am so blessed, so very deeply grateful for the gift of soul remembrance of who and what I am, essentially, fundamentally, permanently, changelessly, as pure, loving awareness, divine essence, perfect life. And in this knowingness, I offer myself in a greater way to the fuller expression of that which I am, knowing that within my very soul, there is a greater idea, a greater purpose and reason for my being that asks me to contribute to a better working world that creates more love and harmony and a sense of oneness, that oneness with the divine, that everything I speak of it, the grander, more glorious something as being, I am. Couldn't speak it, couldn't know it or be aware of it if it wasn't that which is, that which I am. Perfect mind, perfect God, perfect body, perfect self, perfect life. And so as I go forward, I take a deeper look into myself, clearing away all of that which restricts and limits my expression of God. I bring a greater willingness, a deeper trust, and a glorious sense of conviction and spiritual authority to all that I do from this moment forth, knowing there is that within myself which is willing to be all that it is, fundamentally, divinely, universally. And I am finished being anything less than that which it is I am. Joy, spontaneity, creativity, wholeness, harmony, oneness, and infinite goodness. And so for this, and more than any words can more fully express, I give thanks, knowing that always love points the way and the law makes the way possible. Blessing, healing, prospering, one as all. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, my beloved Dr. Sue, for speaking truth in such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way. We're going to say goodbye to those of you that have joined us through Facebook this morning. Please know and remember on your journey this week ahead to remember that you have an opportunity before you with each thought, each action, each reaction, each interaction in life, to remember who you are as a divine being, to take a deep breath and to stop and to feel that interconnectedness, that oneness of life. It's there. It's there saying yes. And so let's each remember to say yes to it. The law will bring back to us an experience that is rich with fertility for what is to come. Let go of the expectation of what you think things should look like. And remember to tap into the feeling of love and let it take over. Have a fantastic week. Know that you're loved and celebrated and blessed, for you indeed are the blessing. Have a great, great, great day.